The night of my engagement was supposed to be the happiest moment of my life. The restaurant was glowing with golden chandeliers, family members chatting over glasses of wine, and a long table decorated with roses. I was nervous but excited, dressed in a silk dress that shimmered under the lights. My fiancé, Daniel, sat next to me, his hand tightly holding mine. We had been together for 3 years. Daniel was the kind of man every girl dreams of, ambitious, kind-hearted, and patient. When he proposed 2 months ago, I felt like the luckiest woman alive. Tonight was our official engagement dinner, where both families met for the first time to celebrate us. Everything was perfect, until I ruined it with one joke. It started innocently. Daniel's parents were telling a funny story about how he once burned water while trying to cook pasta. Everyone laughed. Feeling a little too comfortable, I decided to join in. I raised my glass and said, "Oh, Daniel may be sweet, but let's be real. He couldn't survive a week without me. He can't even fold laundry properly without calling me for help." The table erupted in polite laughter. I thought I was being funny. But when I turned to look at Daniel, his smile was gone. His jaw was tight, his eyes narrowed. I brushed it off, assuming he'd laugh about it later. But I didn't stop there. A few minutes later, when my cousin asked how we first met, I smirked and added, "Well, I was way out of his league, but he begged me for months before I gave him a chance." Again, laughter from the table. But this time, Daniel shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before, hurt. Still, I ignored it. Maybe the attention was getting to me. Maybe I liked how everyone was laughing at my words. When dessert arrived, I made one last comment that sealed my fate. Someone asked about our future plans, and I chuckled. "Honestly, I'll have to manage the finances, because if Daniel handles it, we'll probably end up bankrupt." This time, silence fell. No one laughed. Not even a nervous chuckle. Daniel's mother frowned. My own father raised an eyebrow. I suddenly realized my words weren't landing as playful, they were cruel. Daniel slowly pushed back his chair. He reached for my hand, the one with the sparkling engagement ring he had given me, and slid the ring off my finger. The entire room gasped. My heart stopped. "Since I'm apparently such a joke to you," Daniel said, his voice trembling but steady, "maybe you don't need this anymore." He placed the ring on the table in front of me. The weight of silence was crushing. My throat tightened, but no words came out. The man I loved had just taken back the symbol of our future, because of my careless jokes. And that's when the nightmare began. The restaurant was silent, except for the clinking of a glass somewhere in the background. My face burned as dozens of eyes stared at me, judging. I wanted to laugh it off, to say, "Come on, it was just a joke." But the look on Daniel's face told me that it was anything but funny. My mother whispered my name, but I couldn't even look at her. I was frozen, staring at the ring glistening on the tablecloth. That ring had once been a promise, a dream of forever. Now it looked like a symbol of my mistake. Daniel stood up. "Excuse me," he said coldly, and walked out of the restaurant. I felt the blood drain from my face. My family and his were whispering, exchanging confused looks. My father leaned in and muttered, "What were you thinking, humiliating him like that?" Humiliating him. The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I hadn't meant to humiliate him. I thought I was being light-hearted, playful, the life of the dinner. But in trying to make everyone laugh, I had made the man I loved feel small. I ran after him, the heels of my shoes clicking against the marble floor as I burst out into the parking lot. Daniel was leaning against his car, his hands buried in his pockets. His face was pale, his jaw clenched tight. "Daniel, wait!" I cried. "It was just a joke. You know I didn't mean it." He looked at me, and the pain in his eyes nearly broke me. "A joke?" he said slowly. "Do you realize you made me look like a fool in front of my parents, your parents, our families? 3 times, you mocked me like I wasn't good enough for you." Tears blurred my vision. "I wasn't mocking you, I swear. I was nervous. I wanted to make everyone laugh. I didn't think. Exactly. He cut me off. You didn't think. Do you know how many times I've told people how amazing you are? How lucky I am to have you. And tonight, all you did was tear me down. His words shattered me because they were true. I realized I had crossed a line, one that couldn't be undone with a simple apology. He held the engagement ring in his hand, staring at it. Marriage is supposed to be a partnership, he said quietly. Not a stage where one person plays the clown at the other's expense. My chest ached as I stepped closer. Please, Daniel. Don't do this. Don't throw everything away over a mistake. For a moment, I thought he might forgive me. His expression softened, his shoulders sagged. But then he shook his head. I don't know if I can marry someone who doesn't respect me, he whispered. I need time to think. He got into his car and drove away, leaving me standing in the parking lot with mascara running down my cheeks and my world collapsing around me. The days after the engagement dinner were unbearable. My phone buzzed with messages from relatives asking what had happened, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. My mother scolded me for being careless. My father avoided talking about it altogether. And Daniel? He didn't call. He didn't text. The silence was worse than any words. I kept replaying that night in my head, realizing how arrogant and thoughtless I had sounded. I thought I was showing confidence, but I was really showing disrespect. I had mocked the very man who had given me his heart. 1 week later, Daniel finally asked to meet. We sat in a quiet cafe, the air between us heavy with unspoken tension. He placed the engagement ring on the table again, but this time he didn't hand it to me. I've thought a lot about us, he began. I love you, but love isn't enough if we can't respect each other. I need to know, was that who you really are? Someone who makes her partner the punchline? My throat tightened. No, I said firmly, tears brimming in my eyes. That's not who I am. I was insecure, trying to impress people. I was wrong. Daniel, you're not a joke. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. And if you give me another chance, I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never feel that way again. For a long time, he just stared at me, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, he picked up the ring. This isn't just jewelry, he said softly. It's a promise. If I put it back on your finger, it means we're starting over, with honesty and respect. If you can't keep that promise, then we don't belong together. My heart pounded as he slipped the ring back onto my finger. Relief and gratitude flooded me, but also fear of losing him again if I ever repeated my mistake. That night taught me a lesson I'll never forget. Jokes can hurt, respect is sacred, and love isn't about making your partner look small, it's about lifting them higher. From that day forward, I never made Daniel the punchline again. Instead, I made him the hero of our story, because he was.